episode 112. The destination is worth the journey. Welcome to Gratitude Geek, the relationship marketing podcast, helping micropreneurs find your micro-influencer magic. I'm your host, Candice Rodarty, and this week I'm joined by Todd Falcone. With over 25 years of experience in the profession of network marketing and direct selling, Todd has a strong passion for the industry and what it has to offer. Over the past decade, he has dedicated a majority of his time speaking and training on the subject of network marketing success. His distinctive style of candid, in-your-face presenting, layered with comedy and practical instruction, has his audience both laughing and learning at the same time. I cannot wait to dig into this interview, but first, I have a moment of gratitude. In January of 2022, I added interview Todd Falcone to my vision card for the year. And thank you to our mutual friend, BJ Largent, for making this introduction. BJ is responsible for Todd being on the show today. BJ, you are amazing, and I appreciate you from the bottom of my being. So welcome, Todd.
Well, thank you, Candice. How's it going?
I am, obviously getting into this ticked off my bucket list is cool. So do you know either of these other gentlemen? Do you know Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Wait, who am I looking at there?
Neil deGrasse Tyson and Noah St. John. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Do you know Neil deGrasse Tyson? Because if you can make that introduction happen to me,
I don't know him, but I know Noah, and Noah and I actually have the same birthday. So
do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, how cool! That's very cool. Anyway, let's get into it. Tell us your unique story. How'd you get to where you are?
Do we have 6 hours?
No.
I think everybody's got a unique story. I mean, mine. I don't know how far you want me to go back. I guess this is a business podcast. I can kind of go back and bring in how that relates. I grew up in Washington State in a pretty, broke household. We didn't live in food stamps or anything, but it was, we didn't have a lot of extra money. My parents got divorced. My mom remarried my stepdad, and he was making, good money. I don't know. At the time, my guess is probably $1.25 a year. This is when I was like 14. So at a pretty young age, I got to see what, because my whole life, like, we can't afford it. And then I had this experience with, we could go out to restaurants, or we could go on trips, or I realized like what money could provide, choices and options. So when I went to college, went to Long Beach State, got a degree in marketing, I was going to be an attorney. Then I changed to philosophy, then psychology, and then marketing, and found my way getting into the network marketing profession right out of college. I thought I was going to a job interview. It wasn't a job interview. It was a business opportunity meeting. I didn't even know, I was like, this is a weird interview. Like I've never been in an interview with 75 people in the room. So I was super naive and had never heard of multi-level marketing, direct selling, network marketing. But conceptually, it made a lot of sense to me. And I went in with a totally clean slate. I didn't go in with a bunch of baggage and misconceptions or preconceptions. And so I saw it for what it was, a business model that has leverage, where you can, get in for very little money, build a team, earn a percentage on everything that team does. And I thought that was a brilliant concept, and began that journey very young, very, inexperienced, and flopped around for a couple of years trying to figure it out. Didn't make any money like the first couple of years, ran out of cash, creditors chasing me. I had to move home and live in the bunk beds at the parents' house. And my mom's like, I told you that network marketing thing didn't work. And, and I took a job at the family's radio station as an account executive selling advertising, and what was interesting was I brought 2 years of network marketing training, entrepreneurial training, to a job, and I kicked everybody's ass. So in a very short period of time, I was the number 2 earning account executive in that market. And we didn't even have very good ratings at the time. So for me to be able to do that, selling, commercials at $35 when my competition was selling them at 65, was pretty amazing. And I really owe that all to the training and education I got in network marketing. So while I didn't have a lot to show for it financially in the first couple of years, I had a lot of great education. And I knew that stop at the family radio station was just that. It was a stop. I knew that I was going to be involved in network marketing. So within 3 months, I found another network marketing business to build on the side, and, got that going, built that one part-time, because the first one, I quit my job 90 days into it. The second time around, I kept my job. I built it part-time at night. I needed to have the money to obviously pay down my credit card debt and all that stuff. I couldn't do the business full-time. and, and been in it ever since. So I've been in the profession now for about 35 years, built in the field for 16 years. Last 16 years, roughly, I've been teaching, training, speaking around the world. And it's been really good to me. The space is an amazing place to be. I can't imagine doing anything but network marketing.
Well, you're an excellent trainer. You made a big impression on me when I saw you train live. But before I ask you that question, I want to ask you about, what do you think the skill set is that network marketing marketers can teach to general salespeople, people who work for corporations rather than work on their own?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, like, show, like, you don't have hours, like, show up early, stay late. The other account executives would be popping in the office at 9 and leaving at 5. I was in the office at 7:30 and I would leave when I was done. I think communication skills is huge. Prospecting is huge. There's a lot of things that we learn in network marketing, attitude, accountability, personal responsibility. There's a lot of things that we learn in network marketing that apply to lots of different careers. In fact, I've had a lot of people that I've coached and trained over the years that have gone on to other business ventures, and they've come back to me and said, dude, all that stuff that I learned from you, it's applied, it's really helped me in my business. In fact, I got to tell you a funny story. I was in San Diego with my kids 4th of July weekend about, 7 or 8 years ago. And I was on the boardwalk and I was just people watching up and down, people just skating by me or walking by me or biking by me. And I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I hear this, and it's the sound of tires on a sandy boardwalk. And this guy backs up and he looks at me and he goes, "Are you Todd Falcone?" And I go, yeah. And he reaches out his hand and he introduces himself to me. He goes, "Hey, look, my name is," I can't remember his name now, but he's like, "My name is such and such." He goes, "I was 450 pounds. And he was not 450 pounds. He was like very fit." He goes, "While I'm not involved in network marketing anymore, all the training I got from you through network marketing totally helped me change my life, my fitness level. I've done 3 triathlons. And I just want to say thank you." And then he was off and I was just like, wow, that was like weird. It was weird and amazing at the same time. You never know how you're going to impact somebody's life through the things that you do. So that's, that was pretty cool.
I'm glad you told that story because it's a great time to transition. You did tell a life-changing story for me. 10 years ago, I was in an event where you were a keynote speaker and you told a story about the destination being worth the journey. And it was a very impactful story for me because it talked about how hard it was to get to where you wanted to go. But when you ultimately got to where you wanted to go, it was really cool. So would you mind sharing that story with the Gratitude Geek audience? Yeah,
for sure. I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona at the time. And my buddy booked us, talked to me about this place, this private island off the coast of Sumatra, which is a chain of islands called the Mentawai Islands, and some of the best surf on the planet. And so we booked this trip, and it took us, I think it was 5 flights, which I think the flights were probably 35 hours of time. 5 flights, an overnight in Padang, and then a 5-hour boat ride out to the island. And so by the time we got there, I mean, we were just beat, right? Like, I mean, even I think when we were all in Singapore, we're just like sweaty, hadn't showered, like, oh, when are we going to get there? And we still had another like 15 hours to go or something. And I remember like just trekking on this boat with a bunch of Australians in our group. And it was like 5 hours on this boat. And we come out between these islands, come around the corner, and the guy's like, "There's the island." And at the time it was like this little dot and it was still probably an hour out. We finally got to this island. I remember pulling up to the island and the guy pulls the boat up onto the sand. And it's just the most spectacular tropical private island that I've ever seen. There's a group of people, they come out and they grab our bags and our surfboards. And, first thing I did was jump in the water and go for a swim. And then we were surfing like maybe 20 minutes later. And it was just, it's funny because you're like kind of at your wit's end. You're like, oh, I'm fried. I've got a headache. I'm sweaty. I stinky. When are we going to ever get there? And then you finally get there and you forget about the journey, right? The destination. Some destinations are well worth the journey. And I shared that story at that event that you saw me at because I think that relates a lot to this business. Like sometimes when you're building a business, you're not getting there as fast as you want. There are times of frustration and like, maybe not sweatiness and stinkiness, but you just like, when are we going to find that? When am I going to arrive? And then you arrive and you're like, oh my gosh. Then you look back and you think that was nothing. I mean, once you get there, you realize like the journey was well worth it, well worth the destination, as you said. So it was it was an amazing trip. I mean, 10 days of being on that island, and looking forward to going back there. Actually, it was beautiful.
So 48 hours to get there, 10 days on the island, 48 hours to get home.
Yeah, 43 hours. Yeah.
43 hours. Oh, that's incredible. So I just keep thinking about giving birth. I was in labor for 25 hours. It was hard work. I was exhausted. But when they put my daughter in my arms, all of that went away. And it was just this magical feeling that this beautiful little child, all that exhaustion was gone. It's the same, a lot of people talk about starting businesses is like giving birth. And I think that, it's true. And it was worth the 9 months of nausea, and it was worth the 25 hours of labor to have this beautiful little creature who's now 23 years old. So let's talk about consistency and responsibility, because you've been doing this network marketing thing forever, and you transitioned to coaching, but I mean, you were in this space, and a lot of folks, they give up after a year, or they're willy-nilly with their responsibility. So talk to me about those two things. Why is it important to be both consistent and responsible when you're in this industry?
Well, I think every book probably ever written talks about the key to success is consistency. And sometimes when we hear it over and over again, it's almost like, oh yeah, I heard it, whatever. It's like it's blurred out or something. You can't get good at anything or succeed in anything that you're inconsistent with. So, there's other businesses in other areas where people probably are inconsistent, but most certainly, in this space, people will come in, they're hot, they're not. And a lot of it has to do with, their mindset, right? Their mindset has everything to do with someone's willingness to get after it and stay after it. And so, like, if we look at procrastination, like, why do people procrastinate? Why do people put stuff off? Well, the top two reasons people do it is because A, I'm not good at it. I don't feel like I'm good at it, so therefore I'm not going to do it. Or B, I don't like to do it. It's like I procrastinate on cleaning the bathroom all the time because I don't like cleaning the bathroom. That's why I have somebody clean it for me. Right. So if somebody doesn't feel that they're good at it, then they tend to avoid it. So, and it's interesting. I would say, like, when I first started in network marketing, I drew a line in the sand. I didn't even know that I drew a line in the sand, I don't think, looking back, but I made the decision that I was going to do the business until I figured it out. And so a lot of people will do the business and, I've launched people where I launched them and then 3 days later they quit. Do a big launch deal and then they're gone like the next week, or they're in for 2 weeks and then they're gone. I'm like, what kind of commitment is that? There's zero commitment there. And I think if more people treated businesses in general and network marketing specifically as a real business that takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy, it takes personal responsibility, then we'd see more people winning. And a lot of times the reason people don't act, because you got to look at, I look at this business as it's a confidence game. Okay. Specifically network marketing, we need to have confidence in the business model, right? We need to have belief that the business model that we're in will get us to ultimately where we want to go. And there's still a lot of people that are involved in network marketing that have distributor ID numbers with companies, but they still doubt network marketing. Well, maybe it's only the small percentage, or maybe it's not, they have these self-doubting thoughts that go on in their brain, which cause them to not act. And then, we've got to have confidence in our company and the products and services that companies bring to the table. And then we got to work on us. We're the variable. And so if we're the variable, if we're going to have confidence in ourselves, there's a direct correlation between confidence and competence. So competency is the ability to do something well. So if you have low skill level, low competence, you're going to have low confidence. So if you rise your skill, if your skill increases, I feel I'm pretty good at this, then your competence or your confidence to that activity is going to increase. So they're directly correlated with one another. So one of the things I tell people all the time to be more consistent is you need to work on your craft, because the better you feel about your craft, the better, the more, you're not going to avoid it. You're not going to put it off. You're not going to feel like, it just doesn't feel good to me. I'm not very good at it. If you're good at something, you're going to go attack it. And the other thing is, like, a lot of people, and I would say probably a majority of people that get involved in network marketing probably have had jobs in the past. And there's, you have your boss, and we've been held accountable by everybody our whole lives, our parents, our teachers, our bosses. And then now you're at home all by yourself, and you can sleep in, or you can get up early, you can work hard, you can work not at all. And we have to be this personally accountable person. Like this morning, I got up at, 5:30, 5:45. took a hot tub, took a shower. Normally I'd go do the gym this morning. I didn't, but then you come home or I'm upstairs here by 7:30. Nobody had to push me into the office at 7:30. I got up and did it all on my own. I've been very productive, all morning long already. And that's because I understand this idea of being personally responsible, personally accountable. Your sponsor's not going to do it for you. The CEO of the company is not going to keep you in there. The only person that you got to motivate is yourself.
Some people say, well, I can't do well because I don't have a good upline. My upline quit.
Cop out.
Her upline quit. Her upline is still in the company, but her upline quit. So it's me, and my upline is, 2 or 3 levels up in this company and again, the network marketing company that I'm involved with is a side business. It is not my main deal. It just happens to provide a good chunk of income for my family. So I'm not a full-time network marketer. I believe in the system, but I'm not a full-time marketer. But you also wouldn't be able to recruit me away from the company that I'm with, even though people tried even 2 days ago. How do you feel about, while you were talking, I came up with this memory flashed through my head. And about 10 years ago, I was being shown a product. It was a health and wellness product. And the woman showing it to me was sweating profusely. And she just did not look healthy. And she kept talking about how great this product was. And I was like, well, how has it helped you? And she goes, well, I can't afford it, so I don't use it. So what are your thoughts on that? Should you try to promote a product before you've used it? What is that a responsible thing to do?
I don't know. I think it's important to be a product of the product. I think you can talk more intelligently and more from an ethical position if you actually use that product yourself and it's done something for you. I don't know how somebody can say, she's going to have a hard time recruiting people. Say, oh, it's too expensive for me. Well, you just told me it's expensive. Now I'm not going to buy it. I do think it's important for people to be familiar with and to be using whatever it is that they're marketing. Is it a mandatory requirement? I don't think it's a mandatory requirement, but I certainly think it's going to help you build a business when you can speak from experience. Like, look, I've been taking this stuff and my back pain is gone. I struggle with back pain I started taking this stuff because I can't sleep at night and I keep it by my bed. I take a couple of drops of this or a couple of sniffs of that or whatever it is. And I sleep like a baby. Like, I'm speaking from personal experience. That story of a personal experience is powerful. Now, when you're new and you don't have a story, you're going to lean on the stories of other people until you create your own story, your own product result story, your own business story. But I don't know. I think it's pretty important that you are using whatever it is that you're selling.
I agree. It just popped into my head. So let's backtrack a little bit because after you did that presentation, that keynote at that event that I was at 10 years ago, I actually ran into you on the sidewalk right outside the convention center. And I talked to you very briefly for like a minute, but I didn't introduce myself to you. And let me tell you, I have kicked myself in the rear end for 10 years because I didn't introduce myself to you, because I feel like I missed an opportunity to have you in my circle. And granted, we have this great mutual friend, BJ, and we have other mutual friends as well. But sometimes I go, I was really taken by him. And he's the only person I've ever done that with, where I just didn't take the opportunity to get to know him. And I wonder why. I wonder why. And then I wonder, what other opportunities I may miss that I don't pay attention to, that I didn't pay attention to. So bringing this back to you, how do you how do you personally prevent yourself from missing opportunities that may come your way that could be transformational?
Yeah, wait, it's interesting. You bring up something. So I had a gym I was at in Seattle for a long time. And when you walk in, they scan your card, they take your card and they scan it. Most people are like, scan, go, scan, go, scan, go. And there's this one girl that worked there and she didn't know me, but she would scan my card and she was, hey, good morning, Todd. And she personalized the welcome. And then when I would leave after a while, she's like, hey, Todd, have a great day. And I had thought about wow, this person is so different than everybody else. They're like, and I was thinking that day in the gym, man, she would be so good. Like, she cares about her job. Out of all these people, if I was going to introduce somebody to my network marketing business, this would be her. And I started walking out of the gym and I was like, what am I doing? I literally, in my mind, I kicked myself in my own butt, backed up, went back in, and then had a conversation with her. I go, look, you know what? I know you see my name every time I come in here. It's on my card. It pops up on your computer, but you're the only person in this place that takes the time to actually say, good morning, Todd, or have a great day, Todd. I just want to tell you how much I really appreciate it. Your care for your work would shine in what I do. Are you open to taking a look at making money outside of what you're doing here at the gym? And she's like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Right. So, there are opportunities that exist all the time. One of the things I think people don't do enough, and I think, we've heard the phrase, ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find. And while that's a biblical principle, you can take it out of the Bible and go, hey, look, if I ask, I'm going to get. If I don't ask, I'm not going to get. And sometimes I think people don't really realize the power of the ask. So like there's people that, this guy, Ron, who, he had a very tiny little podcast. Like, he probably had like 3 listeners. I don't even know. And he asked me, he goes, hey, will you be on my podcast? And I said, yes. And he was like freaked out by the fact that I said, yes. He goes, why did you say yes? I said, because you asked. If you ask, you get. If you never ask, you're not going to get. So how do you know, for example, when it comes to building this business, if somebody's open, unless you say, hey, look, I've got this business. I'd love to share some information with you about what I'm doing. If I sent you this video, would you take a peek at it? Or whatever your peak interest question is. But if you never ask the question, you're never going to get. And sometimes we put people on pedestals and we think, oh, they got the big house or this, they got the cars, they got that. You don't know what's going on in the deep insides of them until you just ask and say, look, I know you got this booming business, but I launched a business recently and it'd be fun to work together. Are you open to taking a look at, business ventures outside of what you're currently doing? If I don't ask the question, the person's never going to take a look. So, you could have, in retrospect, after you said hi to me and we chatted for a couple minutes, turn back around, say, maybe it didn't happen at that point, kick myself in my own butt, come back over and go, hey, by the way, my name is Candace, and I know we just chatted for a second, but super nice to meet you. I'd love to exchange contact information with you. Can we do that? I would have given you my phone number right there on the spot.
Now I'm really kicking my butt.
We're connected now, so we're good.
I love it. Well, and I am coming back to you for Noah St. John. Let me tell you, I'm going to circle back for that. Let's talk about the future of network marketing. So you talked about opportunity meetings with 75 people, and you talked about videos. Are those 2 ways of sharing network marketing still viable options?
Yeah, I think COVID's kind of put a damper on live meetings for a while, but live events are making a comeback. There are still people that do in-home presentations. I think, that's a method that we used, a long, long time ago because we didn't have streaming video or audio or Zoom or things like that. So I think, and people ask all the time, like, how has network marketing changed in the 30 plus years that you've been doing this? I'm like, I don't think it's really changed that much. What has changed is the tools and the technologies and the things that we have available to us in building the business. Most people today probably are directing someone to some kind of online video in terms of a presentation. We didn't have that. So we worked with what we had available to us. But I think, live Zoom opportunity presentations are great. Webinars are great. Sitting down with somebody, if you were in my, neighborhood or my town, I would get together and have coffee with you and have a chat. I don't think that there's anything that will ever surpass eyeball to eyeball contact and actually really making a connection with someone. We're doing eyeball to eyeball contact here, which is great. I think it's probably the next best thing. It's the same thing as we're in the same room, but I don't even know where you're located. Where are you located?
I live in Michigan now, but I grew up in Gig Harbor, Washington, and then I moved to California. I lived in California around the same time that you did.
Okay.
So we have a lot of.
So here we are, clear across the country from one another, but we're looking at each other. I mean,
yeah.
Technology is super cool, but I think they all play a role. Depends on how you want to, proceed with your business.
Okay. So what about what comes next? After COVID's all over, what do you think is going to happen next? What's it? Because, in the last couple of years, network marketing has got this really, and direct sales, there are all these horrible things are being said about it, but I think that has to do with the culture of the company that they're talking about. And you can't take that culture and apply it to every other company. So how do we get over the bad stuff that's happened in the last couple of years? And we don't have to talk about what the bad stuff is, but I think you know what it is. And
yeah, well, I've been doing this for a long time. There's always people that are good owners and there's always people that aren't good owners. So, and I think that's the same thing in any business. There are people that run great restaurants and take care of their customers and really care for the food that they're putting out and the service that they provide for people that are dining there. And then there's people that just don't give a damn. So there's always, bad apples and in every industry. I think, for the last couple of years with COVID, I think it's opened the door for our profession, probably more so than it ever has, because people were, stuck at home or they were sent home and they're like, wait, how am I going to take care of my family? And to me, like, this is one of the very few things that, the majority of individuals can get into without having to, come up with a lot of money to start a business. I mean, you can start with most network marketing business for $50, $100, $200, $300, $400, $500. You can't start any other business like that. And you don't have all the headache associated with, inventorying and logistics and shipping and all the other stuff that goes on. You can just come in and plug and play and go. So I think there were a lot of people over the last couple of years while we were in COVID that did get involved in network marketing. In fact, there were people that came to me that I've known for many years that got out of network marketing. And when they were sent home or their businesses were shut down, they're like, dude, I need to get back involved in network marketing. What do you recommend? But there's always, like I said, there's always good people and bad people. And I think what's really going to shift our space, and I think it starts individually and it happens as a collective, is when we decide for ourselves that we're going to really up our skills, our level of professionalism and how we do the business, because it's the people that come in and do it for a week and then they quit. And then their friends are like, hey, what happened to that deal that you were doing? And then they're on to the next one or the next one. They either lacking in commitment or they're lacking in skills, and they verbally vomit all over people and they never shut up. Like, I was coaching a guy last week, his first deal, he was like, he couldn't talk about anything else. He goes, I lost so many friends because everywhere I went, all I could do was talk about the business. There was nothing else to talk about my business. And I pushed a lot of people away. So he was doing it very unprofessionally. I think the more training, the more education, the more we really focus on helping people increase their skill sets, the better off we're going to be as a profession.
I agree completely. Okay. Do you want to promote anything? Because I know we need to wrap up. What is the one thing that someone can do right now to get in your space, aside from walking up to you and introducing themselves?
They can visit my website, toddfalcone.com, TODDFALCONE.com. It says new to Todd ? At the top. They can click there. They can get plugged into my informational loop. I put out a new training video every Monday. It gets released on Monday. We release it as a podcast as well. It's also on YouTube. But if you really want to get like the rest of the story on any of the episodes that I do, I think it's important to be plugged into I call it newsletter. It's every week I'll send out something that says, hey, here's the new video. I don't bombard people with information. Then I have a private coaching group. I ran a call for many, many years, probably 15 years, every Monday night for 15 years straight. And about a year and a half ago, I kind of pulled off of that and I put everything into a private Facebook group, which is my Fearless Networker Insider. I'll give your listeners, viewers can scope it out. It's toddfalcone.com/insider. And that's a private, Facebook coaching group where I do regular content in there. People can request specific content so they get, direct access to me. And we priced it at I won't even say reasonable. It's like unreasonably low, so low that anybody who even hasn't made a dime in network marketing can afford it. In fact, we price it so low that if somebody's, they're looking at their credit card statement, they're like, yeah, whatever, I'm good. You know what I mean? Even if they're not in there regularly. So, but that's a couple of ways to get plugged into me. I've got a number of different training programs on audio and video that are under my products page. And an individual could be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Well, here's a training specifically on that. And everything that I've produced over the years is based on my own personal experience. I don't have a training on TikTok because I don't TikTok. So, if you want to learn how to TikTok, go to the TikTok trainer. I'm not the TikTok trainer, but if you really want to understand how to last, how to survive, how to thrive long-term and make this a real career for yourself, then I'm your guy. So that's where they can get plugged in.
And the destination is certainly worth the journey. So here's your chance to say something nice about something or share a moment of gratitude. For whom or what are you most grateful?
Oh man, I'm grateful for so many things. I'm grateful for the people that frustrate me in my life, right? The people that do stupid stuff that make me, have to take a deep breath and not overreact. I'm super grateful for my wife, who's like the most amazing human being on the planet. I'm grateful for Amway. every day, because if they didn't exist, we wouldn't exist as a profession. I mean, they went to battle for us in the 1970s. I'm grateful for, the town that I live in. I get to live amongst the trees and the squirrels and the deer and the coyotes and the cougars. And I'm just grateful I'm grateful to get up every day. Right. It's like, I will say this real quickly. 2 weeks ago, I live 30 minutes from a mountain, and my biggest passion probably is snow skiing. I love to ski. I love to fish. I love to be in the outdoors, but I've skied for over 40 years. And I went up to the mountain 3 Fridays ago, and I met my neighbor and another guy to go ski. And we went up to the mountain, and we'd skied from like 9 to 12:15. And my friend crashed in front of me and hit a tree, and he died. And it's devastating. I'm actually going to a service on Saturday, and it was a bad day. It's a terrible, terrible day. But I got to say this, like, he was doing the thing that he loved the most. He was a level 3 instructor. He was 66 years of age, had skied his entire life, and he was on his favorite run. So he was doing his favorite thing on his favorite run when he passed. And, so I'm grateful for every moment that, I get to wake up the next day and experience life. And I think it's really important that we all, don't just let life pass us by. We have to live our life and do things that provide us joy and happiness. And while that was a devastating day and a devastating week, and I'm still, rattling my brain over it, I'm just super grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here with you. And I'm grateful for BJ for, sending me a card and saying, hey, you guys need to connect. And I reached out to you, and here we are. So I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us this week on Gratitude Geek, the relationship marketing podcast, helping micropreneurs find your micro influencer magic. Be sure to check the show notes at gratitudegeek.com, episode 112, for links to all the groovy resources mentioned today, and of course, to connect with Todd Falcone. And while you're there, why not subscribe to the show on Audible, iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast players? Our theme music is track 14 by Rev Brock and So Lily. I've been your host, Candace Rodarty. Join me on my mission to spread gratitude, sow seeds of appreciation, and harvest a bounty of generosity and kindness. Stay groovy, my friends.
I know we can make it easier than they can. We can make it better than before. I know we can make it